I very much appreciate the concept of using your campaign to further the mission, win or lose. You're building up a network of people and you're building coalition and you're also serving the community and all of that. I agree with 1,000%. But have we ever seen an example of someone actually getting into Congress that has ever been effective in really doing this, let's say, since the 80s?
I don't believe so. And in fact, actually, if we win this election, which obviously it's going to be an uphill battle, this is going to be an almighty fight because we're up against the Zionists, against big business, corporate landlords, and the war profiteers, and the Democratic Party, which is going to go to war against me, as they always have. But I would say that in reality, it would be dramatically dramatic and historic if someone like me got elected. It's not about me, but it's about my politics. A revolutionary socialist has never gotten elected to U.S. Congress. And even in Seattle, when I was first elected in 2013, I was the first socialist elected in 100 years to any office. And I don't believe any revolutionary socialist was ever elected to city council before me. And so, there is a first for everything. It is going to be unprecedented. And that's exactly why I'm glad you asked the question, Jen, because that's exactly why the Democratic Party will absolutely not tolerate and will go to war against us, against our campaign, because they have seen our example in Seattle. We are not going to go to US Congress and say, oh, okay, I'm going to now coalition with AOC, whatever. We are going to straight up build movements nationally to win victories for working people.
And it's like you go in there and let's say, first of all, we know that anybody that's in there is a capitalist supporter. That's just the way it is. Doesn't matter. They could be a member of whatever progressive caucus or whatever. They're all a bunch of nonsense. So at the end of the day, you're one of, how many yourself people that are really standing up. I mean, there's some other interesting allies that don't take corporate money. There are definitely those people. But at the end of the day, and something I've been saying, and I hope this gets to Bernie and Alex, I really do. Take the AIPAC money. Take it. You're doing their bidding anyway. You might as well take the money. It's like you don't get to rest on laurels of not taking corporate money if you're still doing what they want you to do. It doesn't help.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they do that. That's an interesting point you raised. They do that. The progressive Democrats are a crucial component of keeping the Democratic Party on life support. I mean, if you look at the Democratic Party, its approval ratings.
They are on life support right now.
It's MIC resistance. They need the faux resistance. That's all it is.
Yes, they need the faux resistance, and then they play the Democratic, the progressive Democrats. They not only have sold out in the sense that they have not fought for any of the demands that some of them anyway, most of them don't actually raise concrete demands, but like AOC and Bernie Sanders who have actually raised concrete demands. Not only have they betrayed on winning any of them, they play a much more insidious role, which is continually, perennially bringing working people back to the Democratic Party by giving people a little tiny bit of hope here and there, occasionally, throwing out crumbs of hope, like the Fight Oligarchy tour. They're not actually building a movement for winning anything. They have not actually called for, they could be doing, I mean, just to give an example, concretely, what they could be doing is call mass rallies for Medicare for all. And it's not just about mass rallies. They could do what we have done, which has been a critical component of why we have won, is they could be using their office, as I did, to call out the specific Democrats who are an obstacle to winning Medicare for all, and challenge them and say, I'm going to bring this bill to a vote right now. I want a discussion in Congress right now. I want an up or down vote. I don't care. See, they never do this. Since the time of John Conyers, 25 years ago, they've been bringing some incarnation of a Medicare for all bill. And now, again, Pramila Jayapal brought forward a Medicare for all bill. But that is with the intention that it is never going to go anywhere. Right. However, if they didn't do that, if they didn't do their fig leaf type of campaigning where they bring out a bill, but they don't do anything. They talk about something, but they don't do anything. They do fight oligarchy, but they talk about it in general terms. Then they perpetually keep people locked in this whole false debate of Democrats versus Republicans, and keep the debate limited. As Chomsky said, the best way of corralling people is to limit the debate, but then act as if there's lots of debate within those limits. So, constantly criticize Trump. Of course, Trump is a absolutely horrible human being. He also represents the billionaire class, and right now he is presiding over the genocide. But the reason Trump got elected even once, let alone twice, after he left office as the most unpopular US president in modern history, is all down to the Democrats. The Democrats are the best builders of Trumpism and right-wing populism, and the progressive Democrats play a very crucial role. And that is why they will support the genocide in their own way without taking AIPAC money. Because see, if they took AIPAC money, it would be very clear. It would be very nakedly obvious which side they're on. Instead, they play this shell game where they don't actually take AIPAC money, but then you will see Pramila Jayapal also voting for the Iron Dome. Then you will see AOC voting present, and then later saying, oh, she regrets that, and then recently saying she will vote for the Iron Dome. You'll see these games being played over and over again, but that's with the idea of confusing people.
And that's our job to call it out consistently, because I find it infuriating. And I have said before that I actually find them worse. For exactly that reason. It's like, you're just a facade.
I became president because I'm a very important, very popular person, and they love me. That's the bottom line. That's the big deal. You seem like a lovely person, but you have no chance, so don't waste your time. I know what I'm talking about. I'm the king, and that's the way it's going to be.
I think he represents us perfectly, quite honestly.
Oh, he does. Trump is America.
I cannot think of a better representation of American empire than Donald Trump. I think it's poetic.
Well, speaking of American empire and the person that you are running against, this is your opponent. Adam Smith is one of the most, you don't really hear about him because he kind of keeps his mouth shut for the most part, which is probably good on his part. But he is one of the most corporate-owned representatives, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. The guy is as filthy as you can possibly be. And of course, he has taken, on paper, $500,000 from the Israel lobby. He has taken a hell of a lot more corporate money from the likes of Amazon, Boeing, probably Starbucks, and the like. So he is the definition of a corporate politician. Forget corporate Democrat. The parties don't really matter in this instance. So what can you share with us about Adam Smith and why you believe that you have at least listen, you've won plenty of elections before. So clearly you had to go into this at least knowing that you at least have a puncher's chance of being able to pull off an upset if you raise enough money and have a strong enough ground game. So what led you to the point of wanting to run against this particular person? And what is it about this man that made you decide that, yeah, we have to go forward with this?
First of all, in 2023, I'm sure you heard, I co-founded this national organization called Workers Strike Back, because we strongly believe that the politics, the political strategy, the fighting ideas that we brought forward in Seattle and put to fruition so effectively year after year, defeating big business and the Democratic Party again and again, defeating the billionaire class, and as Colin, you mentioned, Jeff Bezos himself again and again. We believe that this strategy needs to be used nationally, and that's why we launched Workers Strike Back, which is a fighting organization. And it was always the idea for Workers Strike Back to launch fighting campaigns, because we had no interest in launching yet another organization on the left, which is a do-nothing organization, which refuses to actually fight the Democrats, which speaks in abstract, but then doesn't concretely fight against them, fight against big business. So we wanted to demonstrate what we did in Seattle just on a wider scale. And the intention was always to run for, launch campaigns, including runs for office, that will allow Workers Strike Back members and the wider working class to concretely campaign on issues that matter to them. And so that's why, obviously, needless to say, we wanted to launch campaigns to help build a fighting anti-war movement. And clearly we needed a campaign that will bring forward our demands to end the genocide and all US military funding to the Israeli state, and end the brutal occupation of Palestinian lands. And it's important that we run for Congress for that. And you know, Adam Smith is the 180-degree opposite of what I stand for. He is a warmongering Democrat. He is a general in the warmongering party. He is not a foot soldier. He has backed the genocide to the hilt. This genocide, this Holocaust of the 21st century, he has backed it to the hilt. He's among the Democrats and Republicans who have given relentless tens of billions of dollars to the Israeli state to carry out this genocide. And this is after all the hundreds of billions of dollars that Adam Smith and others have already given to Israel in the last 30 years. I mean, the guy has been in Congress for almost 30 years, and this is his track record. And it's not just about Gaza. I mean, he obviously has the blood of over 400,000 Palestinians on his hands, you know, according to the estimates from the medical journal, The Lancet. He also, in 2002, voted for the Iraq war. I mean, so he is one of the 5 sitting Democratic Congress members who voted for the Iraq war. So he has the blood of 1 million Iraqis on his hands. He has not met a war he didn't like. He supported the wars in Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and also the ongoing bloody proxy war, inter-imperialist proxy war in Ukraine. And, you know, as the genocide has unfolded, he has demonized anti-war activists as extremists, as left-wing fascists, as totalitarian. I mean, these are quotes. And he has called for them to be arrested. And it's none of this is a surprise because of his whole warmongering track record, and also not a surprise that he is bankrolled by weapons industry profiteers like Palantir and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. I mean, he's a darling of the AIPAC and Zionist lobby. And, you know, and just to give you a sense of the difference here between me and him, in the summer of 2014, my first year in office as a city council member, I used my office not only to actively attend protests against Israel's indiscriminate bombardment on Gaza at the time, but also to draft a letter to Obama and US Congress to end all US military aid to Israel and also end the illegal settlements and the occupation. At that same time, what was Smith doing? He was enthusiastically backing the Israel's Iron Dome system, which, as we know, is not defense. It's a key component enabling the Israeli state's slaughter apparatus against the Palestinian people. So that, you know, that's an example. Another example is in November of 2023, my last month in office, I was winning despite the Democratic opposition. We forced them to vote yes on our resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and end to all US military aid. At that time, this was the strongest resolution, and it was the second resolution in the nation. And at that same moment, Smith was part of Biden's cabal that was monstrously insisting on over $100 billion of military funding for not just Israel, but also Ukraine. You know, all of this while American working class people are struggling with a cost of living crisis. I mean, you know, I would need several hours to talk about this guy's wonderful track record. But as you also alluded to, he's also your good old lead corporate Democrat, you know, in during the George W. Bush presidency, actually. And this goes to also what will be needed to defeat Trumpism and right-wing populism. During the George W. Bush presidency, Smith was pushing for the Democrats to go further rightward and reduce the contrast between them and Bush and the Republicans. And he also thought at the time that the Democratic Party should consider privatizing Medicare. And so it's no surprise that corporations like United Healthcare, which ferociously oppose Medicare for all, are, you know, his habitual donors. And of course, he called for the bailout of the big banks. I mean, all of this shows that this is what US Congress is. I mean, Adam Smith is a poster child for what US Congress is. And lest anybody think that, oh, well, you know, but he's a Democrat, not a Republican. Smith has received campaign donations from Elon Musk's SpaceX PAC, not once, not twice, but in every election cycle since 2010. He has also, you know, he has already, for next year's election, he's already got the maximum donation from Alexander Karp, the CEO of the dystopian corporation, Palantir. So, there you go. And by the way, I should not forget to say Adam Smith also voted to create ICE.
Oh, you're muted.
Shocking. I am not surprised at all. In fact, I am, since you've brought this up, Kshama, I think it is important that the audience sees, to the founders of Palantir, there are two of them. There's Alex Karp and there is Peter Thiel. And if you don't know, we have always said that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a lizard person. Well, Peter Thiel is a lizard person as well. And I'm going to prove it to you right now.
For the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in
this. Should the
this.
human race survive?
He's got to think about that.
He's got to think about it.
Well, he's a lizard person.
Well, do I want to kill 5 billion people? I kind of do.
Maybe I kind of do.
I think the world would be so much better off.
Oh,
I mean, when people would complain about the whole concept of eugenics, but I don't think, Kshama, that people truly understand, and I know that our friend Osama in the chat was mentioning about the issues of AI. I don't think people truly understand just how devastatingly dangerous Palantir really is and how inherently evil these tech billionaires really are. Like, they do not have a humanity strand in their entire DNA. Like, it doesn't exist, which is why he can be asked something as preposterous as, do you think the human race has the right to survive? And he has to think about it. Yeah, I'll let you know in a little while. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yes, this is I had not seen this clip before, and it is it's not surprising, but it is jarring, to see how deeply disturbed these individuals are. But obviously, as I'm sure you'll agree with me, we can only make sense of this not from analyzing their psychology. Obviously, psychology and sociology has a lot to do with capitalism in the sense that the system is so rotten that the people who are at the top, the multi-billionaires, it shouldn't be surprising if their psyche, their thinking is deeply dystopian and anti-human even, and very, very self-centered and narcissistic and extremely disturbing. It shouldn't be surprising. But the point I'm trying to get at, though, is that those social phenomena, psychological phenomena, are outcomes of a deeply rotten system itself. And so ultimately, in order to make sense of what he's saying and why he is the way he is, I think you can only explain through the lens of class and of capitalism. And so ultimately, what he is talking about, and why it takes him so long, is not that he is putting his own or his fellow billionaires' survival in question. It's not like it's some sort of neutral academic question for him, like, oh, should we? I'm not sure if we should all just, I'm just. It's not like it is just a random academic nihilism, like, oh, should we all just blow up, or should some of us should we live? No, it's a very class-oriented idea that he has, which he's not admitting, but it's our job to parse through that. And what he's really showing is his complete and utter disregard for the vast majority of humanity. But he certainly wants the billionaire class to survive. But that's the extremes to which capitalism takes you, where when you're at that level, you actually completely lose touch with the rest of humanity, and you think that you are, all the narcissistic tendencies come to the fore. And that's why I think it's very important for us to not get locked into the psychology, but to understand the systemic and the class aspects of this. It is also why Alexander Karp, the current CEO of Palantir, he speaks in a similar way. He is, if you hear him speak, which I'm sure you guys have, he positively delights in the slaughter of the Palestinians. Now, his actual words are, oh, well, they're terrorists. But that's bullshit, because people ask him, but what about the 100 children that are getting injured or killed every day? What about women? What about elderly? It's like those words don't penetrate his whole, his whole atmosphere. Like, he inhabits a world where those things don't mean anything to him. And that is why it was appropriate that the Asian Times, for example, summed up Alexander Karp when they said that CARP is building the operating system for perpetual war. I mean, this is what they are doing. They're, as you said, they are using AI and other technological advances for the most grotesque ends. And this is why I'm a revolutionary socialist, because we cannot fight this and make capitalism a little more just, because it is actually going on the deep end in a much worse way than it was 20 years ago, and not to mention the climate crisis. And so ultimately we need an actual system overhaul, and that is why there is no escape from needing to overthrow capitalism, which also means that it has to be a system where billionaires don't exist. I mean, the individuals can exist, but a billionaire class cannot exist.
Well, I think we're heading in that direction. And if you think it's bad,
you're preaching to the choir with me, friend, because I've been telling him Peter thinks that we need a hybrid system. Like, there is no hybrid system. By definition, capitalism is against the interests of the majority of people. That's just how it works. It's designed for that. That's the whole point. Hence the capitalist part of that. Like, you're like talking Jews for Jesus, man. It's Jews for Jesus.
We need a political revolution in this country, and we're going to deliver it. I promise this time I'm going to be more serious than I've ever been before in my life. I promise it's going to happen this time.
Do we have to finish watching this?
We have to finish what the psychopath has to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. But you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self.
You cannot convince me that this guy is not a lizard person or that he's inhuman. I don't believe it. I believe that he is some type of a creation of some kind, because there isn't a human emotion in that person's body. In fact, I have seen plenty of instances where it looks like he was trying to physically jump out of his skin. It looked like his face was pulsating, that the lizard was trying to jump out. But the scary part is, and Kshama, the reason I brought up Peter Thiel is because you are fighting the fight that needs to be fought. Whether you win a congressional seat or not, you are targeting the very people and entities that are actually creating this hellscape of a world that we're living in today. When people get caught up in the red-blue divide, when people get caught up about what some dumb representative had to say on TV or some minute issue that affects 0.001% of the population, if you are not talking about the very people that are controlling the global economy and destroying billions of lives like Peter Thiel, you're wasting your time. And that is why your focus has been so important in this left populist movement. And so we can only hope, win or lose, that you are going to continue this fight, and a fight that we hope we can help facilitate on your behalf.
We are. In fact, we have alongside our congressional campaign, we have also launched another campaign for a ballot initiative in Seattle, in the city of Seattle, for free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the rich. And as many of your listeners might know, we are already won the Amazon tax, which raises hundreds of billions of dollars for affordable housing. We are proposing that tax be raised to $5 billion a year to fund free healthcare for everybody. I think this has to be the starting point. And the reason we are doing this is because of our earlier conversation that the Democrats don't have any intention of ever doing this. They don't have any intention of ever winning anything, let alone Medicare for all. And so if you learn lessons from other countries like Canada, which do have public health care, what they've shown is that you can win in a one area, one province, as Canada did in Saskatchewan, and that becomes so popular that it puts the fear of God in the capitalist parties. In Canada's case, it was in the Tories, in the Conservative Party. They realized that the public health care that Saskatchewan had won through militant labor action was so popular that if they didn't actually carry it out nationally, that there would be much more of a rebellion. So in other words, all of our approach is a revolutionary approach to winning historic reforms. And ironically, but actually it makes sense that revolutionary socialists make the best winners of reforms because we have the analysis to understand what it takes to win. And so, yeah, we are building a fighting campaign. We have a real chance to win. But we need people to understand that this is going to be a big fight. And so this is going to be the fight of our lives because it is literally revolutionary socialism against capitalism. This is how this fight is posed. Working class people are interested in our campaign in a massive way because we are fighting to end the genocide and also for free healthcare. I mean, we have campaigned throughout the district, and it is both the demands are extremely popular. We're also calling for national rent control, but it's not just in the district. This campaign is popular throughout the nation among working class people.